Hello everybody, this is Valerie Greenwell and welcome to Quilt Artistry. Today I'll be working on a custom Halloween alien applique quilt. So my friend has asked me not to stitch through all of the hand-turned applique. So I'm working on a quilt plan for this. And so I think right now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a freehand stipple in the background row behind all of the aliens. And there's two rows of aliens, and then 3 rows of these little 6-inch blocks. So what I'm going to do is build my quilt layout in sand, and then I'm going to start pulling in all of my Sweet Dreams Halloween patterns that I want to use for this. Let me get everything set up on the laptop, and then we'll take a look at the patterns that I've pulled and see how this is going to go together. Okay, so I have my quilt built in sand, and you'll see I have the 2 empty rows here, and then I have 3 rows of the blocks, and then of course my borders and my sashing. I used the line tool to draw this out with my grid and grid snaps, and then I converted all of this over to boundaries so that I wouldn't accidentally click on them while I was trying to place patterns. For me, this really works very well when I'm doing a custom layout. Okay, so I have selected a variety of Halloween patterns by Sweet Dreams that I already had in my collection. I made a couple additional patterns, such as a point-to-point loop, a circle sash, and a simple curve. I'm not sure if I'm going to use these or not, but the idea is that maybe I might want them for the narrow 1-inch sashings and border. You'll see I have patterns here. This one is called Spooky Night. I have pumpkin and candy corn. I have a variety of patterns from the Chillings collection. Not really sure how all of these are going to go together, or I may not use them all, but you know, I might want them, so I put them in here anyway. So let's see here. Looking down, I think I had a variety of 5 or 6 Halloween block patterns, and these I thought were really cute. And then, of course, there was the Alien collection, which has been around for a while, but surprisingly, I did not have the border patterns, so I went and bought those. The border and the border corner, I think they were both like $8 each. They were so remarkably similar to the designs that she did in applique. I thought I wanted to find some place to use those. I've got everything in my project list here, and now I'm going to see how it's going to go together. Now here off to the side, obviously I have my quilt already built. These little circles kind of represent the randomly placed applique circles that are on the left and right side of the quilt. They are not evenly placed. They are not at specific locations. So I knew I was going to have to find a border that would allow me to work around those circles. So we'll get to that part in a minute. And then this is a stiffle pattern. I believe it is, let me see what this one is called here. It is called Stiffle QLI, and it was one of the the free patterns that came with my Statler. Now, I do not plan on using this to actually stitch out, but I'm just kind of using it as a placeholder, because where this goes, where I'm placing this right now, this represents what I will be doing free motion. There was a lot of applique to work around, so I want to be able to do that freehand. It's easier for me with such small areas to be able to just drop the felts and do that part freehand. So let's see here. So I selected my Alien Border 001, and I used that to create a row of pattern to go in the top row, or the top border, at the top of the quilt. And then I made another one to go down below, only I flipped this one and reversed it so they're not going the same direction. These are not going to connect, so they don't need to go the same direction. But I wanted it to have a little bit of variety, so that's what I'm working with on this. Now, the areas that I need to fill here in the, like between my circles, that one's going to be a little bit trickier. So I need to find a pattern that will allow me to fill this space and maybe do a little bit of ad-lib if needed. So let's see what I've got for that. Okay, so for the vertical side border, I was able to find this Alien Vertical Border 004. Let me tell you what I like about this pattern, okay? First of all, it's made to go vertically, so it's going to go up and down the quilt very nicely. But let me zoom in here for a minute, and you can see we have these little spaceships and the stars and this cute little loopy sash. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to be able to do a little bit of ad-lib when I'm actually on the quilt top. For instance, what I mean by that is I'll be able to place this pattern here, and depending on where this circle actually is on the quilt, I can add another star here to be able to fill these spaces in and around the border of the quilt. Now, I will not leave these loops ending here. There will either be another star or another pattern there to make it look like they come back around. It's going to work out very nicely, and I'll be able to work these loops and the patterns to be able to come back around one side of those circles or the other, so that I can probably connect a couple, 2 or 3 at a time as I'm working down the quilt. And what I like about this is that they fit right in the place between these circles. And if I need it shorter or smaller, then I will just go into F7 to, oh, that's not the right button here, let's see here. I'll go into F7 to find my nodes, zoom in and say delete that there, and then if I need to, I can end the pattern there and put something else, such as another star or another spaceship or whatever, but it's going to make it very easy to fill the spaces from one circle to the next. So let's zoom out and take a look and see what this looks like so far. So I've got my aliens going across the top and the bottom. I have my spaceships going down the side. And now we're ready to take a look at what am I going to do in, say, this outside border here. So we'll take a look at that one next. Okay, so looking at the inside border, which is a very slim 1 inch border, I decided to use a circle sash that I drew many years ago when I first got my Statler. And what it is, it's two circles that connect, and it will stitch continuously around. But I like this because it's simple to put inside of such a tiny border, but it will still allow me to connect everything, and without trying to put a lot of pattern into such a tiny area. So let's zoom out and take a look at what that looks like as a whole on the quilt. And I think that the circles go nicely with the little randomly placed circles in applique on the outside of the quilt. So far, so good. So now let's take a look at that second inside border that we have. And the thing about this border is this one is going to be a little bit different because this isn't a true border around the everything on the quilt. What this is sashing that goes around each and every block in here. So I'll have to approach that one just a little bit differently. Okay, so for this little inside border, what I decided to use was just a simple, small point-to-point curve, and I drew this using the arc tool and snapped it to the grid so that I could adjust it and be able to use it as a point-to-point pattern. And so I've used that to create the inside border here. And I think this is going to work really nice. Let's see here. I have most of this drawn for this, but I want to be able to copy part of this to take it down and just fill in these rows here. So I'm going to do a Command C and then a Command V, which will be a Command C is copy and Command V is paste. So I'm just going to place that there, and then, I can see this is going to overhang a little bit, so I'm just going to take my my F8 tool, or F7, and I'm going to break my patterns where I need them, and then I'm just going to delete this part here. And see, now I can just kind of pull that and stretch that to the side. That's going to look very nice. And now all I have to do to be able to fill in the rows as they go down is I'm going to copy this one, and then we will do a paste. And I like copy and paste because it just allows me to keep copying right down the rows. It's very easy to use. Now, because what I used was just a simple hand-drawn point-to-point curve, I did have to do a little bit of adjusting here in the corners. So if you take a look at the nodes using F7, what I did was I just adjusted these a little bit until I was able to make a smooth curve going around all four corners. And I just kind of wanted it to look like a cute little wavy line. I didn't want it to, I didn't want a whole lot of pattern. We've got this loopy circles out there, and, it just didn't need a lot. So this worked perfect for me. Let's see here, we'll adjust that out a little bit. Now, what I'll do is, let me turn on my grid here for a minute, and I want to make another sash that is going to fit in these small sections here, and I want to use that same pattern. So I can see that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. So I'm going to draw a line of 6 inches. There we go. Now I'm going to select my line, my pattern is selected, and now I will choose apply pattern. Okay, now I can see that made me a perfect little curve. So I'm going to select this, I'm going to rotate it horizontally 90 degrees, or not horizontally, rotate it 90 degrees. And let me get that out of the way now. Now I can pick this pattern up and do combined. It's going to now operate as one pattern. I'm going to turn my grid off so it's easier to see. And this pattern is going to fit perfectly in here. Just like that. Now I can do a Command C and a Command V to go ahead and place these patterns between my sashing, between my blocks in that additional sashing. And I'll do that all the way down for all of the other blocks. Since I am just building the pattern right now, or the overall layout, I'm going to copy these as a whole so that I can just put them right in there, and that's going to fill in all those spaces. Now, of course, when I'm working on the quilt top, it'll take a little bit more time to place those perfectly the way I want them. I may even add a little loop on the end of this just to make it look a little more finished. But for now, this is fine. So let's take a look at what we have so far. So now we've got the upper and lower alien border. We have the spaceships and stars in the outside. What will represent the freehand stipple that will go in the alien blocks, and then both of the inside borders and sashing. So now we're ready to get to the blocks. Okay, so there was no shortage of block patterns to be used, but I did want a little bit of variety. But I still wanted to have some continuity between all of these pieces coming together. So I chose to use, I believe there were 4 of these Halloween block patterns. One of them was the witch's hats and the brooms and the stars and the moon, the pumpkins, and let's see, and the spiders. So they were all part of one collection. Let me see here. Was there another one? No, I think that's it. Pumpkins, spiders, and witches' hats. Okay. So then I went and I picked up a handful of blocks from the Chillings collection. They're cute. They're square block patterns, and so I think they'll fit nicely inside those 6-inch blocks. This one with the arrows, this one was supposed to be a block pattern, or a border pattern. Let me see if I can find it. Here, we'll pull this out here. If I can find it here. I want you to see how I edited this pattern to make it fit the block. So what it looks like, because it's I believe this is a border corner pattern. So the pattern starts underneath this arrow here, and then it ends over here. And, of course, if it was a border corner, then, it's going to continue to stitching all the way around that. But I wanted this to be more of a finished block. So I copied this little curvy element here, and I added it here, and then I connected these lines just using the draw line tool. And I think that's going to work out very nicely for a block. Let's see, what were the other ones that I added to this here? There was pumpkins and candy corn. This one, let's see what the name of this one is. It's called Spooky Night 001. And I did have to edit this pattern a little bit to make it square. I just sort of took off a couple of the connecting lines because it was supposed to be an edge-to-edge pattern, but I wanted it to look like a block pattern. So I made a couple changes to that. This one was also a flying geese block. Let's see if I can find that. Here it is. So this is the original pattern, and it's called Chilling's Flying Geese. And so as you can see, what I have over here, I just connected them here in the middle to turn them into a square block pattern. And these are small blocks, they're only 6 inches, so I think this is going to work out very nice. Again, more of the Chilling's blocks, and then this one, which was also here, we'll take a look at this one here. This one was called Point to Point Spider Geese. And you'll see, again, I added these 2 flying geese together to make one square block. So I think that's going to look nice when I put that on. And that's kind of it. So now that I've got all of my blocks ready, let's see what they look like inside the little blocks. So I did a basic outline draw of the blocks, and what I'm going to do is just place my patterns right inside there. I kind of like to have a little bit of space around the outside edge when I place my patterns in. Of course, you know, when I am working on the quilt top itself, I may very well have to make some adjustments to these patterns, but for the purposes of creating a layout, this will work just fine. So I will just go through and add these patterns one at a time, and this is going to be a good way for me to see how this is going to look as a whole before I start actually quilting the quilt. So let's see here. Those look pretty good. Not bad. And, you know, it doesn't bother me at all if I need to just kind of bring this in a little bit off the edges. I like to not to be touching the sides of the block. So, yeah, that looks good. Now, I will do that for the rest of the blocks here. And just get all of them placed into position, and then we'll come back and look at the whole layout. Okay, so now that I have all of my patterns in position, now I can take a screenshot of this that I can send back to my quilt client and let her know that this is the pattern that we have, and then that way she can take a look beforehand, and if there's anything that she doesn't like, I can take it out. But sometimes I think that when you're looking at these images, sometimes it can be a little hard on the eyes when you see all of the borders and layouts, the boundaries behind the patterns. It can be a little hard to look at. So I'm going to do a screenshot 2 different ways. First, I'm going to center this quilt design in the center of the screen. I'm going to close that side, and now I'm going to come up here to File, and I'm going to go to Export Image. Okay, now that is going to take a screenshot of what patterns I have on the screen at this very moment. So I'm going to type this in as Kathy N. Alien 4. So I'm going to go save. Now, that will save an image of what I see on the screen. Now, what else I want to do is I want to take a screenshot or a visual image of just these patterns without any of the boundaries behind it. So I'm going to select everything and then do a copy. Now I'm going to come over here to a new quilt group and I'm just going to paste it into place. That's a great thing about copy and paste is you can just go between quilt groups. Okay, now I want to get that away. Okay, now that I've got that on the screen, with none of the borders, none of the boundaries at all, now it's easier to see all of these patterns without any of the other markings on the quilt. So now I'm going to go back and I will hit export image again, and I'm going to give it a new name. I'm going to say Kathy N. Alien 5. Okay, now I can do save. Now I'm going to send both of these images to my client for review. She can take a look at them and let me know if there's anything that she doesn't like. And if she likes it, then we're ready to go and I'll start quilting on the quilt itself. So that's just a little bit about how I get set up doing a custom quilt and a custom quilt layout or a custom quilt plan, whatever it is that you call it. And so with that, I'm going to get busy quilting on this quilt, and if you have any questions, you just let me know. Thank you for hanging out with Quilt Artistry this afternoon, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.